Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Three, two.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 23 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by Performa Elite. I'm Greg Ginsberg, and joining me in the commentary booth tonight is Larry Lefty McLeod, and new to Apex Racing TV, it's Chad Dick, and of course, we've got John Robertson in the virtual production truck, bringing you all the best camera angles and action that Apex Racing TV is known for. And so tonight, we head to the home of tradition, beauty, and speed, Lime Rock Park. Opened in 1959 when life and road racing seemed so much more simple than today. Lime Rock features corners that may sound maybe a bit generic. There's the uphill, there's the downhill, there are the left and the right-handers, and there's even a track that until last year was called the No Name Straight. But, you know, the racing is anything but generic here. Not only is it the only purpose-built race course on the National Register of Historic Places, but it's going to be where our street tuner and club sport drivers will navigate this 1.5 mile bull ring in less than a minute, and they'll do so for two 20-minute bullfights, rounds 2 and rounds 3 of the championship. And so good evening, Larry. Good evening, Chad. After all the chaos and congestion we saw at Suzuka 2 weeks ago for round number 1, you know, how are we going to have perhaps up to 50 MX-5s and GR86s crammed into this Connecticut treasure?
It's going to be a giant centipede nose to tail all the way around the track. Now, there'll be some daylight between them, but what it's going to be is a bit of a controlled chaos, somewhat controlled. There are stewards on the task who are going to be doing a usually fantastic job to control that chaos. We'll have our split starts, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be tough to keep the front half of the GR86s from getting into the back half of the Miatas. It's going to happen early and often, and then halfway through the night, we're going to invert a couple of those cars and do it all over again. Good times.
Yeah, definitely good times, Larry. And as we try to get things here underway from Lime Rock Park, let's run down a little bit what the format will be here this evening. We are, as we mentioned, going to have 2 20-minute races. First up, our drivers, they are going to be out for qualifying. They're going to have a 15-minute lone qualifying session, and then they'll have 4 laps in order to set a fast lap. That's going to set the grid for race number 1. And then after we have our finish in race number 1, and as our drivers are going out for qualifying right now, what we're going to do is we're going to invert the finishing order for our top 5 cars in each one of the two car types. We've got our Toyota GR86s, the Club Sport cars, and then we've got our street tuner cars, the Mazda MX-5s. And it should make for a very exciting evening. But let's do this, Larry and Chad. Why don't we first turn things over, as we do each and every week here in our Ricmotech series, turn things over to Kevin Ford. He's going to give us tonight's track guide of Lime Rock Park.
Welcome, everyone, to the beautiful Lime Rock Park, located here in Lakeville, Connecticut. They know it as the Bull Ring. That's right, 1.5 miles around this little course, just 7 turns. Let's head up the front straightaway here. You'll notice our pit area to the right, our flag stand to the right, and of course, to the left, no grandstands, nothing but hillsides. That's where all the fans gather to watch all these exciting races around this little crazy course here. Down into turn 1, double right-hander here as we get down into second gear to take the second right-hander. We'll use a little bit of curb coming off that corner. We'll head into the left-hander, the only left-hand corner here at Lime Rock. We'll swing back left and back to the right to take the right-hander out onto what's known as no-name straight. Of course, it's everything but straight. As we head down into the uphill section here, wide open through here, up out of 5. This will bring us to turn 6, known as West Bend. Just a lift of the throttle, we'll let that car rotate to the bottom. Try not to take too much curb there. Then we'll head down underneath the walkway bridge, down the hill into turn 7, and out of the final corner. It's a quick one around here. There you go. There's your track guide for the amazing Lime Rock Park. Thank you for being with us.
And thanks so much to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide, a very quick track guide, gentlemen, of Lime Rock Park. And, you know, it is, you look at the simplicity of this small little track, what appears to be simplistic, but it is one of the more difficult race courses you can find here in North America. And, you know, with really one distinct passing opportunity, and that's coming out of the downhill, heading back down towards turn 1. You know, it is down towards Big Bend. It is a challenge to make up positions around here.
Yeah, I don't know what you think here, Ted, but I would say this place is one of the toughest places in all of the circuits we end up seeing here on the platform to make a legitimate pass. And I think tonight that's going to be the big challenge. It'll be a lot of traffic, but if you don't make passes, it could be a long night.
All right, so we're on board right now. We're watching watching Jeff Jacobs in the Club Sport Pro Toyota, the number 38 machine, the StreetSurvival.org SCCA Foundation machine, as he is currently working his second flying lap here at Lime Rock Park. Again, these are what we call lone qualifying sessions. The drivers have the track all to themselves. They don't have to worry about the traffic of 40-some other cars out on track with them while they try and set those qualifying times. He is currently the third fastest driver in that CS Pro field. If we take a look, we've got Tom Rathke, who is currently our fastest driver in CS Pro, currently on track. There's Tom coming down the downhill, and he has a time of 56.56 in the books. And, you know, we're going to be looking at differences of only, in some cases, hundredths of a second separating out drivers. But let's do this as we take a look now as our timing pylon on the left-hand side of the screen fills in. We'll give you a little bit of an understanding here of the color coding. On the top section of the timing pylon right now, you'll see a number of drivers like Tom Rathke, Jeff Jacobs, Kevin Ford, who have their positions in black. Those are our Club Sport Pro drivers. They are in the Toyota GR86s, and as we're watching Tom Rathke right now, the way you can pick them out is that they've got the black mirrors and they've got black end plates on the wings as well. Then we've got our AM category drivers in Club Sport, much like if we take a look, I think we've got Robert Schwenkler right now in the number 235 machine, and those drivers have the well, we're going to call them we're going to call it orange, but I think it looks a little more yellow. They've got those yellow banners there, or pardon me, yellow mirrors on the doors, and that's how you're going to pick those out. And if we move over to the street tuner classes, where we again have Pro and Am, let's take a look at Palakui Grant. He is currently your fastest driver in Street Tuner Pro, and they have the red mirrors on the car. And then we take a look at our Street Tuner Am category, and we'll go on board right now with Ray Lombardi, who is our fastest driver in that class, currently with a 0.3 of a second advantage. And the Street Tuner Am drivers, they will have, well, they're supposed to have green mirrors, Larry. Looks like Mr. Lombardi may have escaped and not showing so much of the green here tonight.
It's, you know, green is just a figment of your own a construct, so we'll just pretend there's green.
That's
there.
right. It's not easy being green, Larry.
I've heard that somewhere. A wise man once said.
Yes, or a wise frog, one of the two. And it looks like Mr. Lombardi's calling off that lap that he was on, going to bring that car back to the pits right now. So, Chad, what are your thoughts so far here on what is going to be a very large field right now already? We have 39 machines that have set qualifying times, and 3 more that have not yet quite put in a time. We'll actually make that 2 more, as we have a driver just cross the stripe and put in a time as well.
I think, as you said, 2 big things really stick out for me at this track is how evenly the drivers will be in their times. You know, it's just a super competitive track. I mean, it's seconds, fractions of seconds. It'll separate everybody. So that means everybody's in it, you know, for the long haul. I think the other thing is, as you may know, there's no racing on Sundays at Lime Rock by ordinance. And the way I translate that is, you know, sometimes when I'm racing and I get left alone on the track, it feels like I'm out for a nice Sunday drive. Well, there are no Sunday drives at Lime Rock. Expect it to be sort of wall-to-wall, end-to-end, intense competition, whether you're at the front of the pack or the back of the pack. So I think, if anything, it's going to be hard for our TV producer to know where to train the cameras on the action.
That's right. Maybe we should just have John give us a blimp view, and we'll just shoot straight down at the whole course, because I think Larry said it with 50, or I guess around 40 now 42 machines that have put in qualifying times. It is going to be very, very hectic, and you're going to have drivers more or less from one end of the course to the other. But Larry and Chad, let's do this. We have waiting for us right now in the green room Scotty Banks. He drives the number 7 Team Volta Club Sport Pro Toyota, and he finished second last week at Suzuka. Let's talk to him, get his thoughts on what it might be like to run here at Lime Rock.
All right, Scotty has joined us here. So, Scotty, you guys have had a whole week here to prepare for this circuit and for this race. Can you be ready for this bull ring with as many cars as are going to be on the track tonight?
Well, first, thanks for having me here. Second, I did not have the whole week to prepare because I missed practice earlier in the week, and I got about 6 laps yesterday and showed up a little later today. So I wouldn't say that I'm even prepared for myself on the track. And I think in my 17, 18 years of sim racing in various capacities, this is one place that I have never been able to figure out in any car. Even if I'm quick, I feel like every lap I'm doing something horribly wrong. So then I don't know how many people there are here, 40, 45 cars out here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the grid order so far. A couple of minutes here to go. It looks like you might be 4th on that the 86 grid. So that's a good sign. You'll have less chaos in front of you, but I suspect there's going to be chaos coming for you. And if they've got more practice than you, maybe with more cars on track, that can make interesting. How quickly do you think people can adapt to this, or how much can you ever settle in? I guess what it gets down to, can you settle in a 30-minute sprint with this many cars, or is it just going to be, you know, your head on a swivel and just anxious every moment?
I don't think there's going to be any settling in. Maybe if there's a big wreck and you lose 10 or 12 cars, but other than that, I think every corner, every lap, there's going to be something you've got to be paying attention to 100%. which makes it fun. And it would be, I think if it was a 60-minute race, there'd be a little bit different mentality from everybody, but being a shorter race, so many cars, everybody's running really close lap times here. I don't think there's any time to just relax.
Yeah, well, you know, a couple weeks ago, I think was your first race here with us. Obviously, opening up the series here. What are your thoughts after that opening event, and maybe what kind of expectations you have for tonight?
I'm hoping I would like top 3 in both races. I'm excited for this season. There are some other tracks later, VIR, Daytona, that I'm really looking forward to, that I think I'll have a better shot at really challenging for wins. Tonight, really, I'm just looking to survive. Not one of my best places, just so much going on. So I'm happy to survive the first few laps and settle into 3rd or 4th and just make it.
Well, that's a really good objective tonight. Maybe not the easiest of objectives, but I think hopefully everybody's got the same one. But for you tonight,
Hope so.
Good luck, Scotty. I think grid's about to start up, and with any luck, maybe we'll get a chance to talk to you in about an hour.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, there you go. Scotty Banks, driver of the number 7 Team Volta Racing Machine. And good luck to him as he finishes up qualifying, as you mentioned, Larry, right up towards the top of the order. I think he finished up 2nd in CSAM, so good on him. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to run down the order here, Larry and Chad, but this is not necessarily the order in which our drivers are going to be lining up, because it's there's no separation between the Toyotas and the Mazdas, as we believe race control is going to manually try to do as soon as that pace car starts rolling. There we go. There's the order that we want. Tell you what, I'll take the CS Pro to kick things off with Tom Rathke from Granite State Racing, your pole sitter with a qualifying time of 56.265. Eric Violet from D2D going to be starting right next to him.
One
in
quick
the number
note.
89 Toyota. Then we've got Jeff.
One quick note, Greg.
Yes.
What's shown there, or the grid, is split by the Pro and the AM categories, but I believe they are going to be intermixed.
Yes.
Which I believe puts Robert Schwenkler on the outside of row 1.
Oh yeah.
That order is available. If you want, I can go through it. It's in. If you go into the sim, you can see it there. Otherwise, I can run through it. I've got it here in front of me. If that's
All right.
easier.
Tell you what, Larry. I'm gonna hand it off to you.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. Let me hand it off to you.
All right. So, yes, as you mentioned, one thing does not change. Tom Rathke is your pole sitter tonight in the Toyotas at 56.2. Second on the grid, right on the outside, is going to be Robert Schwenkler from the Wrong Stuff. He'll be lined up on the outside of row 1. Row 2 is going to be Eric Violet on the inside. He'll be lined up with, we just talked to him, Scotty Banks on the outside of row 2 in that Team Volta. On the third row, it's going to be Jeff Jacobs lined up with Tom Jenkins from Midfield Motorsports. On the next row, we've got Joey Rutledge and Nick Parsono. Mixture there of the AMs and the pros on that fourth row. The next row should be Kevin Ford and Bobby Childs, so that'll be an interesting mixture of those good old buddies. The row behind them should be Leo Dragota on the inside, Ken Ladd on the outside, followed by Russ Ruddick and Brad Husty. They'll be followed by Edgar Sancinelli and Mike Taylor. We've got Stephen May and Paul Carey. We've got Rodney Carey behind them and Marlon Jones, followed by John Casey and John Winters. The last row there in the Toyotas. I quickly jump over then to the MX-5s. They will be starting on a split grid. On the front row there, Polycui Grant from D2D eRacing with that 56.3. He's your pole sitter in the Mazdas. Lined up with Mike Dam. Next row is going to be Greg Mack and Ken Copeland. The third row should be Travis Schwenke and Eugene Bellucci. On the next row, Rob Hartley and John Allen. Tough row there. Then you got Brennan Horn, Ray Lombardi, Chris Thorman and Jeff Cranston, Eduardo Lorente and David Payton. Steve Daniels lined up with Patrick Prevenus, Chuck Labano and Mike Key. And last but not least, Robert Brist and Lucas Dragota on the last row there in the Mazdas.
Well, there you go, Larry. That took about a half hour less than I thought it was going to take. There we go. As we've got the field now getting lined up as they come through. They come through West Bend and start to make their way down the hill. Pace car now on the pit lane as we turn the field over now to our pole sitter, Tom Rathke, in the number 41 machine. There to your right with Robert Schwenkler to his left as they take a look down the long front straight here, the Sam Posey straight, and wait for the green flag. And there we go. Green flag is in the air as our live starter gives the command to our Toyotas, and they are underway, heading down into Big Bend with Rathke to the inside. And it looks as though Schwenkler maybe a little late to the throttle as Eric Violet drops now into second place. Then we've got Schwenkler, Jeff Jacobs, and Scott Banks side by side as they come through Big Bend. Then with Joey Rutledge and Tom Jenkins a little bit further back, also side by side, Kevin Ford and Leo Dragata as they make their way through the left and the right bends. And now we should have our MX-5s starting to make their way down towards the front straight. And green flag is in the air for the Mazdas. They are now underway, and it is Palakui Grant in that yellow number 71 machine. He's got the inside line on Mike Dam, who's held to the outside. Both of those drivers now with about a 3-car length advantage over Ken Copeland in the number 15 machine. John Allen in the 101, just back from there. And then we've got Greg Mack, Travis Schwenke, Mike Dam's Orion Racing teammate. He is now sitting back in 6th place in that group. And I think mixed in, Larry, we might have one of our, I think we've got one of our Toyotas maybe mixed in. I'm sorry, John Winters did make it through. All of our Toyotas made it through on the very first lap. They're starting lap number 2, but already in a nice line here. Not many changes in position here as our first lap starts.
No, but one who did was John Allen. Started on the outside of row 4, 8th position, now up to 4th on 1 lap at Lime Rock. Unbelievable start for John Allen. So we'll see if he's able to get into a groove with the rest of this, or if that chaos just continues with how things are going. And there's already contact on the outside. There's one of the D2Ds. I'm not sure who that was he's tangled with.
And I think it may have been Sancinelli that had that he might have tangled with and try and get the number.
Yeah, there he goes, Eugenio Pellicci.
Yeah, and that is a new racer to the series as we are taking a look now at Robert Schwenkler, who started off on the front row of our Toyota GR86 field, and he is there. Looks like he's got a lot of problems at the downhill, and looks like his race effectively is done in these short 30-minute sprints.
Started the race, the front row, the overall, obviously the pole for the AM category, and he's out of this first race. That's just heartbreaking for him, which leaves Tom Rathke now kind of all alone. Now, he started on pole, and he looks like he's on the back of already one of the Mazdas that had been the one slow off the line there. I'm trying to see who that was. That's Ken. I'm not sure who that is actually right in front of him. It looks like one of the
heading into the pits now, and that is Eugenio Pellucci that's heading into the pits. And not a great start for Eugenio, who is new to the series this week, did not make round number 1. I'm sure he is waiting anxiously now, Larry, especially after this race, for round number 4, where we will be traveling to his native home, his hometown, and that is Monza. We'll see how he plays out here tonight so far. Not a great opening for our newcomer as we take a look now. Tom Rathke in the 41 machine with Eric Violet starting to come up. Got one of our Mazda MX-5s directly ahead, and I believe that's Patrick Pavenis as drop back a little bit further into the field. Now as we have going too wide down the hill. This is Joey Rutledge and Tom Jenkins. Actually Kevin Ford and Joey Rutledge, pardon me.
Well, there you go. You got the front couple of the GRs getting around that slower traffic. So now you've got what should be Eric Violet now has gotten around Tom Rathke with, I believe, Scotty Banks, the third in that train.
We've got a replay of Schwenkler's incident.
All right, Larry, let's take a look. I think we've got queued up what happened to Robert Schwenkler. He started off on the outside of the front row in our Toyotas, and we'll watch this. He's the 3rd car in line right now as they come through West Bend, and he gets a lot of curbing there and takes him to the grass, and off he goes to the inside, gets a lot of Armco there. And this is something where the iRacing platform has modified these Toyotas quite a bit since it was released in the last calendar year. They do not react very well to raised curbing. And you saw there, right at the apex of West Bend is some of the tallest curbing, except, perhaps some of the curbing that we have over at turn 1 in Big Bend is some of the tallest curbing that we have here. And you saw how it really just bounced that machine all the way across driver's left, right off into the grass.
Yeah, those cars definitely don't like that too much. They tend to pop up on two wheels and go bicycling all the time. So not very friendly if you're going to add to the bicycling effect, because they might just do it on their own. The Mazdas, though, as we're watching here, is Public Lee Grant is still leading that train with Mike Dam right behind him. These cars tend to be a lot more supple over those curves, a lot more smooth. These things do just kind of a general slide all the time. Makes it a little bit easier to pop into those curves, whereas the Toyotas tend to kind of bounce and bicycle quite often. And in this place, some of these tall curves just a little bit far.
Well, what they all have to watch out for is that grass. In order to get that extra little, tenth of a second here, you want to use all the track. But as we just saw, this track has very low margin for error, whichever car you're driving.
Yeah, this place, the grass and the speed you're going, the grass will just kind of suck you out there right into a wall every time.
All right, as we watch Public Lee Grant, who leads all of our street tuner machines, the Mazda MX-5s down through Big Bend with Mike Dam from Orion Racing directly behind. Then Ken Copeland, and I think we have Ken incorrectly listed as being one of our Toyotas. So no, he's not running 13th in the
John Allen
AM
off in the
category.
background.
Yeah, he's currently running. He's actually one of our ST Pro drivers, and so currently running 3rd in ST Pro. About 5 car lengths back from there is Greg Mack, and then another 3 back to Brennan Horn.
But John Allen was in there, but he went off just back there. I believe it was somewhere around the right-hander. He went off and then popped into the side rail. So he's out of this race, or at least too far back to do much about it.
Yeah, you get off camber in some of these turns, and it's really easy to get pushed out wide like that. That's a pretty typical place to see people go off here.
Yeah. Looks like Mike Dam's doing everything he can to pressure Grant through this section, because we know how difficult it is to pass here. I look at this place as really your best chance to pass are going to be down the front straight, which means you've got to really come down the hills absolutely perfect and try to get a run. And if you can get a little bit of a bump draft from the car behind you, it works even better. And Mike right now is set up with right behind him. He's got company. He's got some help there, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to be able to actually get the push on by. Over in the GRs, though, it's chaos throughout the field.
Yeah, it is, Larry. We're watching right now Tom Jenkins. He's currently running 3rd in CSAM, and he has Ken Ladd directly behind him in that red and white number 11 machine, red, white, and black 11 machine. Again, that is a battle for position in class. Just back from there, we've got Bobby Childs, who is in the pro category, currently running 5th in pro and kind of sitting in a little pocket there. Then we've got Luz Dragata and Russ Ruddock. They are also in AM, so looking to pick up trying to pick up the position as we jump back over to the MX-5s. We've got David Payton, Eduardo Lorente, Jeff Cranston, Steve Daniel, and right behind Steve Daniel in that kind of bronze with green car, and challenging for a position now, coming up the Paul Newman straight and up the uphill. Right alongside Steve Daniel was John Allen. He's trying to find his way back by.
Well, up in the front, Grant has lost that position now, 2 positions up in the front, as Mike Dam now leads the way here in the Mazdas.
There you go. So Mike Dam now your new leader, and getting around as well is Ken Copeland in the number 15 machine, that white machine, and then we've got Palakui Grant in the yellow number 71. And you know, Larry, you were talking earlier when we were watching Mike Dam there about how he was riding right on the tail, and I think probably here at Lime Rock and Chad, you feel free to pipe in, but besides the obviously the one traditional place to make passes down at turn one, one of the other ways to make positions up here is simply to get into the mine and get into the mirror and get into the head of the driver ahead of you, and try to force an error, which is exactly what it looked like Mike Dam was trying to do with at the time with Paul Grant.
Yeah, I remember when I took my first driving instruction here, my driving instructor, said what's great about this small little track is, when you're hot lapping solo, you really learn how to control the car with inputs, smooth inputs, very little touch of the brake. You can steer the car around here with the throttle and the brake pedal without having to use your steering wheel. But when you're in race conditions, it's exactly what you just said. You got to get in tight and follow closely. And that's where it makes it even more, important to choose when you're going to add inputs to the car, because make the wrong move and it can cause problems. So it's a fantastic place to learn how to drive and to race, which are not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah, and so and we see already a number of drivers that have been caught out by that, Chad. As we just had a quick look at the pit lane at Leo Dragata from Dragon Sport Racing. He had a bit of an off, and his car went to the pits. He got some repairs. He is now on his way back out. Bobby Childs, who was in one of the fights that we were watching before, he is now in the pits, as is Mike Taylor, Paul Carey, and of course, from that early on incident, Robert Schwenkler. So right now, 4 drivers occupying the pit lane, trying to get repairs, trying to get back out on course to maybe recover and pick up a couple of points out of this round. All right, let's take a look. I think John, our director, has some of the replays of the action. Let's take a look and see what happens here as we're watching Mike Taylor in this jumble of cars going through the uphill. And looked like he had a car right behind him, and I think that was the Dragata car directly behind, as they both got a little loose coming through the uphill, went across driver's right and into the fencing there. And now let's take a look and see exactly what happened to Bobby Childs. And there you go. Look at this. He gets the curbing, gets all the curbing at the apex of the downhill, and he tries to save it. Oof. And just, if he had been maybe another foot or so to the right, he might have just come into the pit lane with, a speeding penalty by about 80 miles an hour. But unfortunately for Bobby, big clout of the wall, and now he's on the pit lane getting repairs. John Winters, who is one of our new drivers in the series, he comes down the pit lane as well. I believe he actually just drove the car in. Not sure what the issue is there. As we jump back now to Paul Grant, currently running 3rd in ST Pro, and he is under a bit of pressure right now from Greg Mack, driver of the number 2 machine, directly behind.
Yeah, really surprised to see Grant drop back this way after having a couple of laps led up there in the front. Maybe the pressure from Mike Dam, as you were saying, sometimes that's the strategy around here, is getting ahead of the driver ahead. Maybe it did so much where it caused Grant to drop back, and as they mix through the back of the other fields, getting through some lap traffic, he might be getting caught out a little bit like that, where perhaps the front 2 were able to get through a little bit cleaner. As you can see, they're already through turn 1 while he's just coming in.
Or maybe he's just playing the long game and going for P5 so he can be in P1 once they invert the grid. Who knows?
Not the worst strategy.
No, we've seen. I think last season, Larry and I saw it when we were running solely the Toyotas. I think it was as that Toyota tries to get offline and let some of the Mazdas by.
That's Rodney Carey. Yeah, that's Rodney Carey, I believe, in that number 3. He may have been trying to let him by, and that is not good. That's Marlon Jones in the 25. I think it's Proventus, I think, in the 29.
Yeah, I believe that is Patrick Proventus along with him as well, and they are now going to be heading back to the pits. full repair.
I want to say that was up on the back straight, if I had that right. Yeah.
Well, you know something's gone awry when one of the slower class cars catches up in rear ends a faster class car. I know there's not a huge difference between these two, but that's certainly not something I'm sure Palikue was really expecting as he came around those two corners.
No, and it looked as though that Toyota really got out of the throttle in order to ensure that the Mazdas around him were able to get by down the what used to be known as the no-name straight, and it just didn't work out well for Palikui Grant, who saw the closing distance disappear very quickly. As we watch, this is a great fight coming down into turn one, mere inches apart. It is the 11 of Ken Ladd. It's the 68 of Tom Jenkins to the inside. And a nice little scrap there, and giving no quarter, only a couple inches there separating them, but no touching, no rubbing, and no foul as they come now down towards the end of the Paul Newman straight. And we'll see once again as Palikui Grant now under attack again by Greg Mack in the number 2 machine. Mack to the outside, and Mack got out of the throttle, got into the brakes maybe a little bit earlier than Grant.
And you've got a Rob Hartley sneaking up on them behind them as well, who didn't have the best grid position, but he seems to have fixed that. And then right behind them, of course, is Travis Schwenke, Rob's teammate, who looks like his car might need a bit of a polishing before the second race. But yeah, seeing Hartley back there, knowing how he is one of the strongest drivers in the field traditionally in these MX-5, to see him working his way through the field could be a bit of a scary sight for folks like Greg Mack, knowing who's coming.
Yeah, and he's got Travis Schwenke right along behind him as well. Has both of those Orion teammates. Wow, look at that.
That's
look
for
at
the
that
lead.
move up the hill.
Yeah, that's for the lead right there in the 86s. That should be Eric Violette now ahead of Tom Rafke. So that's all for position, these three. This is probably the best battle we're going to have. Overall lead and class, of course.
Back to your point earlier about where to make an overtake, that's usually not where you see them make an overtake, because the car gets very light and sometimes can even go sideways at the top of that hill. So they both held it together pretty nicely there.
Yeah, that is one place where you don't want to dial in any additional steering input, just to even, shift the car over to the right just a little bit, because you can really end up sending the rear end of the car around. As we watch this battle again with Ladd and Jenkins. And and Jenkins goes to the grass. Ladd goes to the grass. Jenkins didn't give him a ton of room on the outside there, Larry, but there's not a lot of grip on that very, very edge of the track surface either.
Not much grip at all out there, and I'm sure, Chad, that that's kind of a tough place to be on the outside alongside someone.
That was the first thing I learned driving here, was always take the inside when you can, because you're at risk of just exactly what we saw there, and it's all over this track. Almost every corner, if you can't find the inside apex, you can be at the mercy of the guy you're racing against. He can either push you out wide, or just the camber of the track might, you lose the grip off the rubber line, or the track will fall away on you. And it's a small track, but man, it'll bite you if you're not always paying attention.
Hey, so Larry, here's the thing, and you can see now as Robert Hartley has gotten around Greg Mack and has pulled up right to the back of Palikui Grant. And I've been watching this the last number of laps. So Palikui Grant has been right on the borderline as he goes and turns the car in for the uphill of dropping his left rear wheel into the grass. Well, and there's been this really odd rotation of the car as he goes to the uphill. But this past lap, he dropped both left-hand wheels into the grass coming out of the right-hander, and it allowed Greg Mack, one of our other Orion racers, that is Travis Schwenke, puts the rear end of the car around coming through Big Bend. He's going to lose a number of positions, and a lot of cars there off in the dirt, off in the grass, one of our Toyotas as well.
Yeah, and that car already had some altered paint and graphics there on it, and that didn't help things, as there may have been contact as well with the other cars in the area. But he's back on now.
Yeah, he got the memo. He wasn't going to need his headlights today, so he sacrificed them.
that's right. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. He's got a big old shiner there in the left front, doesn't he? That's going to move Schwenke now back to 8th in the Street Tuner Pro category, and David Payton in the 64, quite a distance ahead. He has currently Jeffrey Cranston behind him, and Cranston is currently running second in our Street Tuner AM category. And Cranston just now gets around, well, I don't want to say it yet. He was nose up on Schwenke coming into one, and he protects the line going into turn number one. And so now move Cranston up ahead of the 16 car. There again, Cranston currently running second. He's made up 2 positions on track so far tonight.
It looks like on balance, most of the pit action's happening with our GR86s. I see quite a few cars still sitting in the pits, and the MX-5 seem to be having a little bit better go of it.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's because of the way those Toyotas drive. They tend to be a little less forgiving. They tend to bicycle a lot. They tend to pop around a lot. So little mistakes turn into big consequences. Where the Mazdas, I think you can get away a little bit more of that the slide, the slip, and maybe catch it and be able to recover. So that's maybe driving why a lot of these Toyotas are ending up, on the roofs, into the walls, and ultimately on the toe in the pits.
All right, so we're just a little bit more than 10 minutes, or probably 20 minutes into this first 30-minute race on the evening. Remember, we've got 2 30-minute events here from Lime Rock Park, and we're going to take the top 5 in our Toyotas, our Street Tuners, and then those are the Mazdas, and our Club Sport cars, the Toyotas, and we're going to invert the top 5 from each as we continue to watch this battle now between Tom Rathke and directly ahead we've got Scotty Banks. That is the battle for second now. Scotty Banks actually is leading the AM category though, Larry, and running second in the Toyotas, but for the moment now looks like the 89 of Violet starting to slice his way through some of that slower traffic, has opened up a bit of a margin.
Yeah, just a little bit, and sometimes through traffic you can be efficient out in front. You can do that, and then you start putting a couple of cars in between, and it just gets to be, more and more continue to build. It looks like what he's able to do right now. By the way, I'm starting to think that Mr. Banks may actually be pro, not AM, this week.
Let's take a look.
He shows up with a P next to me on my timing board, so I don't know if that's a typo or not.
And a matter of fact, you're right, Larry, because I even have down that he shows in our results from last week as being in pro. So we've got maybe we'll have a chance to fix some of that up when we go to break between the 2 races. We'll see what we can do.
Which I think means that our Kevin Ford coming in, that's not a good sign.
No.
As he was actually running up in the top 5 with an opportunity to get that good transfer position for the second race. So this is going to kill any chances there of starting the second race on pole. But the other one to watch now, knowing that Banks is obviously still running very well, top 3 in the pro class, is your AM category leader is Joey Rutledge. So there he is. So for the wrong stuff, he should be leading that AM category, and by a pretty good margin. I think Tom Jenkins back is probably another. You can see the timing about maybe 7 seconds or so behind him. So Rutledge having a pretty good run here, keeping his nose clean. And you can see no one around him. That's usually a good sign of Lime Rock.
And 7 seconds is hard to make up here, so that's a nice cushion that if he drives safely, should be able to hold on to for the next heat.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good little cushion to be able to build up, and looks like as well with the Toyota crowd, he's 4th overall in the Toyotas, so that would actually start him on the outside of the front row for the second race. So kind of all falling his way right now for Joey Rutledge.
All right, as we watch right now, Ray Lombardi, who is currently our leader in Street Tuner, the green color, that would be a Street Tuner AM, correct? I think. I hope.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. Correct. I need a big map directly in front of me to get these things right. But that number 84 car, currently your leader in AM. He's got Brendan Horan in pro category directly ahead of him. Horn running 6th in pro for D2D eRacing. But great run so far by Lombardi, and he's got a little bit of a gap ahead of him there that he can just maybe settle in for these last 5 minutes. He has 2 pro drivers, David Payton and Travis Schwenke. Schwenke, who had that earlier off, next in line as far as the Mazdas go, but you can see there are a number of Toyotas that have been put a lap down by Lombardi directly behind. Ooh, we have another driver having some problems with the downhill, and that is, I believe, Kevin Ford.
It is, yes. And more issues. Remember, he just came out of the pits. We saw him in there. Probably this could be his out lap. That's tough there. That's a shot of race leader by Kim.
Yeah, it looked like he took tires in the pit, so I wonder if he was on cold tires and just maybe took that corner like it was race pace.
That could be. Well, this is a shot of Ken Copeland fighting with Mike Dam, and I believe that's the new leader in the pros in the Mazdas.
Yeah, I think indeed that is. Now, again, we've got, I think in our timing and scoring system, we're showing Copeland as being in AM. But he has now moved up into the pros, and he is there just ahead of Mike Dam. He is your new leader, the number 15 machine, with 5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, that's a what?
He's getting defensive already on the 93 car. Didn't take long.
Try to break a little draft. They're going to come into traffic, though, and it's going to get interesting here in the next 4 minutes. Probably about 4 more laps around this place, and we'll see how much traffic they have to navigate. Does it present opportunities, depending on where they catch them? Does it give opportunities for Mike Dam to counterattack?
Yeah, it's so important to calculate risk-reward, particularly at this point in a race here, because here you're sitting in P2, you're going to lock in some nice points from this race, start at the top of the grid for the next one, or do you push and press and try and get the top podium spot? So hard to pass here. You know, you got to imagine what's going through his mind right now.
Yeah, I wonder if that is the right play. You know, you push forward and you try to guarantee some points out of this race, not knowing, if you start, even if you start at the front of the field for the second race, you never know what's going to happen after 30 minutes. I'd almost rather, ensure if I can move up, and even if I start back in 5th position, I'd rather have the first place points here in the first race and just kind of lock them in.
That's like my high school football coach used to tell us, never take points off the board. So if you've already locked them in, drive smart so you don't lose ground, and then just be opportunistic to find the next spot.
Yeah, look, we already saw how drivers at the front of the field here, only made it like a Robert Schwenkler that only made it a couple of laps in. And, just because you're starting on the front row doesn't guarantee that you're going to come home with points. All right, as we watch now, Eric Violet, driver of the number 89 machine, and Scotty Banks, he's making up a little bit of ground here under the draft, Larry and Chad. About 7 car lengths back, but we only have a minute and a half remaining, probably 2 more laps here from Lime Rock Park in our very first race.
Yeah, it looks like he's done a very good job of navigating through the traffic a little better than Rathke had done. Remember, Rathke started this race, I believe, on the pole. Now he's back in 3rd. But it's Banks that really has been able to help himself once he was able to get around. With Violet, we thought was just pulling away. Now with 2 laps to go, it's really, I think, going to come down to opportunities. Is there a lap car somewhere which slows down Eric Violet and provides that opportunity to Scotty Banks? As that might be his only way to be able to get this last spot and be on the top step of the first race podium. Otherwise, 2nd place points, not terrible. Remember, we talked to him at the start before the race that he really wasn't thinking he was going to be fighting for wins. He thought a podium would be about his best opportunity. Here he is, solidly on the podium. Now he's only 6-7 tenths away from winning this race.
That's right.
Yeah, we might have to check that trunk for a few sandbags in there, because a man who says he doesn't practice much this week and shows up on the timing board as amateur, something funny's going on here. He's contending.
That's right. He is trying to beat all these basically just sandbag, I think, is exactly the right plan. Is what did he say, that he ran 6 laps in practice this week. That equates Larry and Chad to 6 minutes.
Well, I watched his stream before I jumped on the broadcast tonight. He was on there for more than 6 minutes, so you know, he looked like he was warming up pretty good there.
He seems to have done pretty well. It's Chris Thorman here in the back of Greg Mack now, fighting for the 5th spot in this this Mazda Pro class. Mack holding on to it. Thorman wants it, but probably what they should be seeing a white flag, and there's the white flag in the air for everybody.
Here we go. So now it is one more lap, 1 more minute to go. We just had a driver leave the pit lane here for the last lap as we track our leader coming into Big Bend. That's Eric Violet, the 2nd car in that pack, and you can see flashing the lights. And as he does, Scotty Banks is starting to close the gap down a little bit, and this might be the best
think they
time.
just took the checker.
Oh, look at
The
that.
front of the field did, while the back of the field was.
Yeah. I was thinking he seems to be driving pretty casual for somebody who's got a lap left to go.
Yeah,
But these guys are waiting to see it.
All right, well, let's see here. Then, oh my, is Ken Copeland trying to beat Mike Dam across the line as they slice through traffic, and there you go, taking the win in Street Tuner Pro will be Ken Copeland. So, yeah, I guess I kind of blew that one, didn't I? All right, so let's take a look here. Ken Copeland, your winner in Street Tuner Pro. Mike Dam finishing 2nd. Robert Hartley will come home in 3rd. In Street Tuner Am, as we jump down, it is Ray Lombardi taking the win in the number 84 machine. Finishing 2nd will be Steve Daniel. And everything switches, so there you go.
I think Eduardo Lorente had P3 there. I'm not,
P3,
if I saw
exactly.
more change, yeah.
All right, so Larry, Chad, what we're going to do, going to take a quick little break. We're going to get our drivers all gridded up, get all set up for race number 2. And when we come back, we will have our 2nd race of the evening here from Lime Rock Park, where you're watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup presented by Performa Elite. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
All right, and we are back at Lime Rock Park for rounds number 2 and 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup presented by Performa Elite. And if you want to find out more about Performa Elite, you can see them on the web at performaetg.com. Let's take a look at the results here, John, if we can bring them up on screen from our first race. And if you're bringing them up, I can't see. There they are. All right. So there we go. So in Club Sport Pro, Eric Violet, your winner, with Tom Rafke second, and then Jeff Jacobs finishing in third. In Club Sport Am, it was Joey Rutledge for the wrong stuff taking the win, with Tom Jenkins and Russ Ruddick coming in third. And then if we moved over to the Toyotas, to the Mazdas, Ken Copland taking the win over Mike Dam in Club Sport Pro, with Robert Hartley finishing in third. And then in Club Sport Am, it was, let's see, I think we need to shift down a little bit more. There we go. Ray Lombardi taking the win, Steve Daniel finishing second, and Eduardo Lorente coming home in third. And so we've got our drivers. They're out doing a little bit of a warm-up. They've got about 50 seconds or so remaining in the warm-up period as they are trying to get ready for our second race of the evening. And again, that race, we're going to be inverting starting the top 5 finishers from the Toyotas, the top 5 finishers from the Mazdas as well.
Could make it very interesting now, because we saw a lot of passing actually, even with the qualifying run grid order. Now you always force a little bit of passing when you've got these inverted top 5s, and this could make things interesting in these first 5-10 minutes.
Plus a fair amount of drivers who probably want to make up for some misfortune during the first race. So we not only will have the front runners all shuffled, we'll probably have some people further back in the grid who are looking to redeem themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of these races. Some folks who were in the pits there had some damage, got knocked back. I think of folks like Travis Schwenke struggled a little bit there. Maybe even Kevin Ford. Obviously, we saw his issues late in that race, having issues. John Allen's another one. It's going to probably start this race a little further down you'd expect. So let's look for those guys maybe to start making moves early and making up some ground.
All right, so we've got we've got our starting order there, but we know that starting order is not correct, Larry, as again, I don't think it takes into account the inverted start either. So we'll give it a couple seconds here. We're going to let our race control try to sort out the order here.
You imagine trying to sort them both by car class and driver class at the start?
Oh my gosh, no.
Well, I can tell you at least who I think is going to be in the pole in the Toyotas. I believe it's going to be Jeff Jacobs and Joey Rutledge. Your AM winner from the first race actually is going to be on the front row for the second. Tom Rafke and Scotty Banks should be on the next row. Eric Violet should be then lined up with Tom Jenkins. On the third row. I think it's the front 3 rows in the Toyotas. In the Mazdas, if I have this right, I believe it's going to be Greg Mack and Polly Cooey Grant on the front row. Rob Hartley, Mike Dam, the teammates there from Ryan on the second row. Ken Copeland and Chris Thorman, big powerhouse row there as well, on the third row in the Mazdas. And you can see, as we've got the overhead shot here, as you've got the stewards saying, okay, car A to row 1, car B to row 2, and they're working it out. It shouldn't be more than a minute or two.
This is what the traffic helicopter always looks like over the Washington Beltway, by the way, Larry.
Oh, this track is a little bit like the Beltway.
Yes, it is. Actually, there's a section of the Beltway in Silver Spring, Maryland, known as the roller coaster, and this is exactly what it is like there. Very tight, very twisty. Lots of great camber changes. It's an amazing piece of road to drive at, I don't know, 3 in the morning, because at 3:30 it's packed to the gills.
Well, like Lime Rock, it's always full of traffic, bumper to bumper, and you might just get somebody knock you off the track into a guardrail. So it's really similar.
and actually, as we saw the cars go and split to the very edges of the track, left and to right, that would be exactly where the emergency services vehicles would shoot the gap to try to get up to the front.
All right, so there it looks like, your front row there should be Jeff Jacobs in the Toyotas, along with Joey Rutledge there. You can see him in that Wrong Stuff Racing there in the second row, and then it does look like Rafke and Scott Banks in the third row, the two different white cars there. And then Eric Violet, your race one winner on the third row with Tom Jenkins, who's also from AM. So that's going to be a good thing for him to be up there starting in the middle of that group as well.
That's right, and we have the split now set up between the Toyotas at the front and the Mazdas at the back. 22 Toyotas, and we're looking at, I think, 18 of the Mazdas, as now Jacobs is leading the field through West Bend. There is a safety car there. There is a pace car there, but I think he's already gone to the pit lane. Like any other Cars and Coffee Mustang driver would. All right, so here they come down through the downhill, and again, Jeff Jacobs, your pole sitter, he has the field. We do have a real live human being as the starter, and our drivers waiting for that command as they come down the front straight, and green flag is in the air here at Lime Rock. We are back underway for race number 2, round number 3 of the Touring Car Cup. And it is Jacobs and Rutledge side by side as they come down into turn 1 in the Big Bend for the very first time. Jacobs takes the lead. Rathke gets around Rutledge. Then Eric Violet, Scotty Banks, and then Edgar Sanchinelli, your top 5. And you can see that Wrong Stuff Racing driver Rutledge still side by side with Eric Violet as they come through the left-hander as our Mazdas now. The Club Sport class gets the green flag as they come down into turn 1 and sweeping around from the outside. That was Palakui Grant for the second race in a row. Gentlemen, coming through the Big Bend. He is your leader on lap number 1 with then Greg Mack, Mike Dam, Robert Hartley, Ken Copeland gets around Chris Thorman. Actually, they're still side by side as they go through the right-hander.
A lot of bumping going on, and I see Brennan Horn there in the number 45 already before even the green flag got a bit of an extra rub on the nose of that car. So he's starting early with this one, but a great start there for Grant to vault himself into the lead here. Maybe try and clean up some of the mistakes he made in that first race. I think he'd probably a little bit disappointed with how he was falling through the order. Maybe this is his chance for a bit of redemption in this one. Also note there on that Toyota Star, it's interesting how it was Tom Rathke who got kind of burned on that first start of the first race on the outside, and he got bull rushed to the inside. This time he makes sure he doesn't happen again. He was on the inside, pushing Jacobs, the pole sitter, ahead to allow himself to make sure he didn't get stuck on the outside. So great start here so far. But look at this Bobby Childs with the on the inside there.
With Schwenkler.
Yeah, with Schwenkler. Bobby, again, had a bad first race. He could be one of those guys, Chad, you were talking about, making his way through the field after having a rough first race.
What I love about this format is you might have a bad first race, but you learn a lot and you can make adjustments.
That's a bad second race.
Off track, I think that was Jeffrey Cranston from Craney Customs taking the long ride there and off into the wall, and a lot of damage as he went off coming out of Big Bend.
Oh, Brennan Horn and Travis Schwenke banging doors coming around down the hill.
Schwenke gets a lose. We also saw there just a moment ago where we had another one of our Miata drivers, and that was Steve Daniel, get off into the grass coming through West Bend as well. He managed to gather it back up without hitting the tire wall over there before the bridge, and he does lose a couple of positions.
Also worth noting, I think John Allen may have wrecked and called it a night. So one of the former champs in this class is already out of tonight's race after a pretty rough first race, and not going to get anything here for the second.
Yeah, it looked like he started from the pits on this second race, so he already came out a lap down, and something must have happened, and just decided to call it a night.
Yeah, rough go for one of the perennial favorites here in a Mazda. 2x2 around turn 2. That's always interesting. Doesn't work out well this time. Doesn't seem to be too damaging, as there's Kevin Ford right in the middle of it all.
Yeah, and I think that's Stephen May directly ahead in the black and orange machine, and Kevin Ford jumping to the inside on May as they come down towards the uphill.
And that's Bobby right behind him, going to try and squeeze in, using all the curb. Maybe not suggestive in this car, but Bobby not shy about it.
And you know, and Chad and Larry, I was going to say Bobby Childs, especially after what happened to him in race number 1 and how he had used the curves maybe a little bit too aggressively. That's the second time in 2 laps I've seen him bounce off some of those curves, really unsettle the car, in some cases in very close proximity to others, but also in positions where there's a lot of Armco very close by.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see the guys taking in the GR86 so much of the curb in West Bend, because on the exit, again, you touch that grass. We already saw it in the first race. You can quickly snap hook right into the into the wall, and it can be a race over, or you can lose a lot of positions.
All right, as we watch this battle now for the lead in Street Tuner, pardon me. There is Mike Dam, and Dam actually is running second. You can see Palikui Grant, Larry, now has opened up maybe a 15-car length advantage over Mike Dam. Dam being pressured by his teammate Robert Hartley. Directly behind Hartley, we've got Greg Mack and Ken Copeland, who was our winner from race number 1. And it is a very, very tight fight here in CS Pro.
Yeah, it's never great to be driving in your rearview mirrors, but when you're the lead driver and you look in your rearview mirror and you see people start to battle and you're already out by 2 to 3 seconds, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's exactly how Grant did that. He just had the opportunity to get to the front before they even exited turn 2 and let the guys behind him fight it out. And if you're Mike Dam and you're trying to fight through because of that invert order, you're a little further back than maybe you would have been. It takes that much longer. And Grant, the whole meanwhile, was just pulling away half a second or 1 second a lap. And now Mike Dam with the teammate Hartley are going to have to work together. Hartley, though, looks like he's got the same things on the front that Brennan Horan had, a little bit of evidence. But for him, he's still running third, but not the cleanest looking car.
There's a CSI Ricmotech or something there.
You know, one of the cool things about this track in real life, and you definitely see it when they come around the left-hander and the right-hander, but since so many of these turns, you can make the turn just by lifting. When the cars make the turn, they come around quietly, and then you hear them slam on the gas. And it's, you know, when you're a spectator, there's just, because it's such a small venue nestled in all the woods, you know, the sound and the thunder of the cars is really remarkable. You miss that in the sim world, but particularly, you know, that's when you can tell when somebody's coming around right-hander and left-hander whether they got a good run, because they get on throttle earlier than the other guys, and it's, you know, you almost hear it before you see it.
Yeah, and I think especially in these Mazdas, where you do drive them so much with the throttle and a lot less with the steering wheel, that is definitely the case here. But yeah, that's one of those oral things that you just don't get through the sim if you're just wearing a headset or something along those lines. That it really does here just reverberate and bounce off of all the trees around the outside of the course.
That flag station down there in the uphill section is the most coveted when you're a spotter here, because, you know, they come through so fast and loud, and, you know, whether the chicane is open or not, it's just an exciting corner to watch people come up the hill.
Wheels in the air, and yeah, it's and they're coming straight at you. You're only a couple inches off the pavement right there, as with most of the corner stations here. Great fight going on right now. That is Leo Dragata in the 118 machine. And directly behind Bobby Childs, again, Stephen May. Directly ahead, Kevin Ford in the red and white machine. But this Dragata right now is running currently 6th in the AM category, and he's got pro drivers ahead and behind. Let's jump over now.
This is for the lead.
Jeff Jacobs now, and this is with Rathke and Scott Banks, and the battle for the lead.
Actually, that's the battle for second between Jacobs and Banks, as Rathke's not even in this shot. He's actually pulled ahead by a couple of seconds, by about 2.5 seconds. You can see him just ahead of them in the other white GR. So great job. He's doing the same thing that Palikui Grant is doing in the Mazdas, letting the fight happen behind him while he pulls away. Now we'll get to see, now with Banks having clear of Jacobs, is Banks ultimately quicker than Rathke? We know Rathke had a rough first race tonight. Banks had a pretty solid one. But can he make up ground now that he's got clear air in front?
Yeah, it seems like with the more organized start on the second race, there's a little bit more separation between the classes in the field. So interesting to see both Palikui and Tom build a similar size gap. It'll be interesting to see who can hold on to it, because I would imagine the GR86s are going to catch the MXs before the other way around. So we'll see if that slows up our front runners or not.
Yeah, Chad, do you think that is because less of what the front guys are doing, maybe more of what the backs of the fields are doing? They're staying closer to the fronts maybe and allowing a longer time period before the front of the Mazdas, for example, catches the GR backs and vice versa. The front of the GRs catch the back of the Mazdas.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I noticed they stopped the grid at the start the second time around just to make sure everybody got in the right place, whereas they were still shuffling the order and putting drivers in the right place with the green flag drop first time around.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has definitely worked out very well, clean so far, which is good news if you're Rafki or publicly Grant. If you're leading that respective class, it's good news to see that you've got clear track in front of you. The last thing you want to see is all of a sudden a whole cluster of back markers or slower parts of the field, and now you've got to navigate because that's opportunities for the one behind you to catch you and make a pass.
That's right, and as Eric Violet now, I was going to say, as Violet was starting to make up some ground on Jeff Jacobs, it's allowed Scotty Banks to open up an advantage there. Edgar Sanchinelli in the number 57 machine, he has nothing but AM drivers directly ahead of him. He's got Husty, Jenkins, and Rutledge, 1, 2, 3. That is the battle for the lead in Club Sport AM.
He's got the train behind him, though, with looks like Ladd and Ruddock, and then you've got, and that's Travis Schwenke again in race 2, having some issues here tonight like he did in race 1.
Yeah, and it looks like, I think that was possible Paul Carey that had some issues going down the hill as well in the Toyotas.
I think we got a few drivers who are having sort of just struggles in both races. I noticed Kevin Ford fell down the list, and Travis has fallen down, Greg Mack fell down again. So, I don't know, some people may be just not having the luck today here.
This guy seems to be having a much better second race. Tom Rafke leading the way in those GR86s, and really nothing in front of him. Looks like maybe one of the Mazdas he had to get around, but that didn't seem to be too much of an issue. That gap now, 2.5 seconds over Scott Banks. And then, as Greg, you mentioned, Scott already put a little bit of daylight to Jeff Jacobs behind him. So that's good news. Eric Violet, who traditionally is one of the quickest ones around tonight, didn't quite get through the field from his start position in 5th up to anywhere near the lead. Now he's paying that price, still kind of stuck behind Jacobs and Banks.
I think you see a little bit of that difference between hot lapping at Lime Rock, which the front runners can do right now in clean air, versus racing close with your competitors and navigating position, managing traffic, trying to get the right line, the inside line. It's a totally different ball of wax when you got cars around you.
Well, with only a third of the way through the race, I suspect at some point we're going to see that heavy interaction going on. And I can see now in this shot of Tom Rafke, there's a train going around the left-hander in front of them. We just saw a moment ago. So it's coming, that moment, and there it is, the whole back of that Mazda field. He's going to catch him, and he's going to have to try and pick him off 1, 2, or 3 at a time. Meanwhile, Banks and Jacobs behind him are going to be trying to get there without being slowed up. Just seeing in the back of that shot, Eric Violet just cannot get around Jeff Jacobs. Jeff, Chad, Greg and I know from calling a lot of these races, Jeff Jacobs traditionally has the widest car on the track. So not a surprise that Eric's struggling to get around Jeff.
I can relate to that. I'm never the fastest driver in any grid that I join, so I have to adopt a little bit of that wide shoulder stance just to protect my position. So I respect drivers who know how to drive defensively.
There's definitely an art form to it. Rathke's got to be getting nervous. I'm watching the Mazdas in front of him. They're 2 wide, they're 3 wide. They're having their own scrap. The last thing they care about is the overall leader or the leader in another class coming through.
Yeah, and Scotty Banks about 3 seconds in arrears right now. You can see just now starting to come through the left-hander, and that margin that Tom Rathke has built up could disappear right about here. He was lucky enough to slot in by one of those cars, but here they come as they go 2 wide going to West Bend. That's not going to leave a lot of room for this Toyota to slot through. He may have to follow him all the way down the hill and try to outmotor him going down into Big Bend.
Well, is that Greg Mack right in front of him? Actually had a pretty solid first race. I'm not sure how he fell down the order like this, but Rafke at least has that going on. Maybe he can follow Greg through some of this traffic. He's able to get by a couple there. That's going to help his cause. Well, it was until the other one decides to shadow him.
Well, speaking of shrinking gaps, take a look at our MX-5s as well. Pelicui is now, he's got 2 guys on his tail, Mike Dam and Robert Hartley, have closed the gap to under a second. So Looks like that gap evaporated a little bit more quickly than the Toyotas did.
Oh my, yes it has, and they've got a lot of traffic coming up on them right that they're coming up on right now, and again, it is. If he's going to put on a good defense, he's going to have to do it for almost 15 minutes, as we have actually 16 remaining here from Lime Rock Park in round number 3 of the Touring Car Cup. Let's track this lap here. And we saw this, Chad, in race number 1, where Mike Dam started to pressure Paulo Grant. Grant maybe started to get I don't want to call it sloppy, but started to deviate from the lines that he had taken earlier on in the race, and it just precipitated that fall of 3 or 4 positions back through the field.
Yeah, I think when you're the chasing driver in this situation, you have the opportunity to sort of manage your speed and your gap, and you're lifting a little bit more, maybe saving a little bit of fuel, so you're not pushing the car as hard, and as a result, maybe your tires are in better shape, and I don't know, you're not working as hard as the guy in the front. That just may be the situation that he's in.
They are going to come up on some traffic here, and it's Grant's going to have to try and be efficient somehow to get a car between he and Mike Dam behind him, and that's never easy to do. Mike always very smooth through traffic, and here we get a chance to see Grant. How can he do it as the lead of this pair, knowing that there's a couple of GRs, which it's one thing to try and get the traffic in the Mazdas because you generally know where a slower driver to Mazda is going to be slow. But you get the GRs, they just have a different pace to them, a little bit tougher to read and get around them.
Well, I've had the fortune of racing with these two drivers, Pelikiwi and John Casey, who's coming up on it. They're both gentlemen on track, so I would expect this to be a little clean coordination here.
Just as you called it, there he goes. Casey able to move out of the way of all 3 of them, going to let them, that'll go on through.
Yep, not only moves to the inside, but gets out of the throttle to let all 3 cars go by.
In a prior career, I worked at a small beverage company called Pepsi, who owns a small snack company called Frito. So I love John's team name, Frito Sport.
Frito Sport.
Sort of plucks a heartstring for me. Paid my paycheck for many years. Nothing like a big bag of Fritos and a big, tall 2-liter Mountain Dew to get you going for a race.
Yes. Especially at 8 o'clock in the evening or 9 o'clock in the evening Eastern time.
Well, lots of penalties, or at least warnings, have been doled out here in this race. Bobby Childs, the victim of the latest one, a warning for avoidable contact. Bobby, usually one of the more courteous drivers out here, but showing he's not totally infallible.
This is what I find interesting when, you get the slower class car front runners running up against the back markers of the other class. Like, what's going to happen here?
It's one of your Frito team as well against Mike Taylor, trying to be a generous opportunity there, giving away some free snacks and let these guys on through.
All right, as we watch now, Palakui Grant with Mike Dam on board with Mike Dam coming through the uphill.
Watch the smooth stylings of Mike Dam, just barely turning the wheel, as you guys mentioned, driving it with the throttle, just sort of lightly steering, but then just to modulate the throttle to get the car to do what you need it to do. So smooth.
Yeah, and you'll see Grant, I think, Larry, is somewhat the antithesis of that. He has been dialing in a lot of steering input into this car, as Mike Dam now tries to make a move around the outside of Big Bend.
Who pays dividends here?
He could have the inside coming up here if he holds it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good move.
Now it's going to switch back the other way as we go to the right-hander coming back across. Grant pulls up right to the nose of Mike Dam, but is going to lose a lot of momentum on exit as they head now down towards the uphill. And Grant, though, not giving up the ghost. They are going to go side by side, but again, Grant is going to lose a lot of momentum as he had to keep that car pinned to the inside.
Oh, Mike Dam's got all the momentum here with that outside line. He's going to take the high line at Talladega, so to speak, here and make the run down to the front straight, and he definitely should have the speed advantage down the straight. Are they going to go 3 wide?
3
I
wide.
was going to say, as Hartley squared off the exit, came right down the center, both he and Dam get around Palakui Grant, but Robert Hartley, who started the last lap off in 3rd place, he is your new leader, at least for the moment. And, you know, Grant and Dam, I don't think they're done with that battle for 2nd yet.
No, the wily veteran and Hartley just seeing an opportunity to get the best run of the 3 of them onto the front straight and say, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, and just sort of nuzzled his way right on up to the lead, leaving his teammate to continue to fight with Grant behind him. That was beautiful.
I don't underestimate how hard that was to go 2 wide, 3 wide around this whole lap of this track at full speed. I mean, remember Scotty saying how hard our time he was having to find and hold the line here. Imagine trying to do that and keep up speed on the inside line like Grant was doing there. I think that was really impressive to do that and do it so cleanly.
And for the viewers at home, Mike Dam's lap time going side by side with Grant the entire way around, I believe was a 59.86. So if you're on your sim and you know how quick an MX-5 is around here, go side by side for an entire lap and do a 59.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got to be rough, but then you consider that he was 3 seconds. He's been 3 seconds faster when he's not side by side.
I'm not sure I could do a 59 around here by myself, and he was doing it
Right.
side by side with Palakui Grant. It was it's so fast what they're doing right now.
Yeah, and you know, and as Grant, I think really much like he did going through the uphill, really pinned the car to the inside as they came down the downhill. Grant stayed very far over driver's right on exit, and it just opened the door up for Hartley to shoot the gap and go down the center there. As we jump now back over to this little battle here side by side, we've got Edgar Sancinelli and Bobby Childs. Sancinelli to the outside in the yellow and white machine, Bobby Childs to the inside in the gray, black, and white machine. Directly ahead of them is Ken Ladd, but this is with Childs and Sancinelli, the battle for 5th in Club Sport Pro.
How'd you like to come out of the pits with all that action coming by?
Oh my gosh.
There were like 15 cars. That guy pulled over to the side and was like, yeah, I'll just let y'all go by.
Already a couple laps down. What's a couple more positions going to be, right?
But let's make it 5 wide going into turn 1.
Just to let you know who that was Joey Rutledge, your round 1 tonight winner in the AM class that was coming out of the pits. He has had probably one of the worst lucks here so far in the 2nd race. And then, as you say, to be coming out of the pits right in the middle of that battle didn't really help anything.
Oh, and here we go as we're now 4 wide coming down the front straight. Well, now make it 3 wide for the moment.
There's room for the 4 there. He's going to move it in.
There it is. Sancinelli moves all the way to driver's right, tries to come underneath them. Not quite close enough, though. But, oh, my gosh, what a neat little fight there. That is, again, it's Sancinelli, and just ahead of Sancinelli, Ken Ladd, pardon me, and Bobby Childs now making up another position, gets around Ken Ladd, but those 3 drivers, look at this as Sancinelli is trying to figure out how he can make his car about 1/3 as wide as it is in real life, and try to sneak past Ladd and Childs. Can't get it done.
I think you just introduced a new concept. We've all heard of the announcer's curse. You just gave him the announcer's invitation to make it 4 wide.
Yes, I did. Which is usually followed by the announcer's curse. Oh, going wide, going very wide. I believe that is.
Save. He brought it back on track without finding the tire wall.
Yeah, I think that was Leo Dragata who put the car off, and nice recovery there. Straightened the wheel up and got right back to the track surface.
Well, this battle here that's going on as Bobby's trying to catch up with Ken Ladd. Remember, Ken Ladd was our AM category winner at Suzuka 2 weeks ago. It's for him to be kind of finding himself down here. I don't know if it was a surprise at Suzuka or a surprise tonight, but he hasn't had the success here tonight that he had over in Japan just a couple weeks ago. But he's definitely got the fight of all fights right now with Bobby and with Edgar and all the other guys here. And now, of course, with one of the Mazdas between, as we flash up to Grant now with an opportunity to go down the inside of Mike Dam and take over 2nd spot, and he does.
Well, he likes that inside line.
And here comes
really
Copeland.
hold it tight.
Copeland, your round 1 tonight winner, is going to do the same to Mike Dam, put him another position down.
And so Mike Dam now dropping back into 4th position in pro. Nice move by Copeland there, our winner from race number 1 to get around the 93 machine.
Yeah, he's having a solid run here. Again, because he won the race, he started this one in 5th in the Mazdas. Now he's got himself up to 3rd, but it's been a really tough fight here, I think, between this whole group. And, we're only, 7 minutes to go, 7-ish laps to go. I wouldn't be here to call final on any of this stuff yet. I wouldn't be putting against even Mike Dam to come back and win this thing the way that he tends to run.
Well, Larry, you just do it like I do it, and you call it a lap after the checkered flag is out.
But that was a perfect example of, what we mean when we talk about these big momentum cars. It's a lot of times people focus on you need momentum for the speed, but when you lose momentum, like Mike did there, I mean, he's clearly a driver of high caliber and has been leading this race. He just got a little out of position there and gets passed by 2 cars because he didn't have quite the same momentum coming up the hill. Had to wait until he got to the final turn to pick it back up and pick up his speed on the front straight.
That's contact with the leader. That's Hartley.
That's Hartley. It's Copeland, involved there as well. And I think,
wow.
Oh my gosh. And I think in addition to that, let's see who else. And Copeland's already gone back to the pits, trying to figure out who else was involved with that. But that is now going to move Mike Dam up into the lead.
Was that Lucas?
No, Lucas is still in the lead, is he not? I think
he is.
That.
Yeah, Grant takes over the lead.
Second now.
Yep. So he moves up for sure. He's got that. Now you got Chris Thorman in that pro category. Move up to third with all that chaos that just went down. So tough break there for Copeland and for the leader, Rob Hartley. That's the worst thing that you could have happen. But that's part of the issue here at Lime Rock, isn't it? Where things are so tight, even when you're 2 seconds a lap faster, it's still so tough to make a pass.
Well, a perfect example of opportunity striking. So you look at Chris, who in the last race just missed the P5 spot by like tenths of a second. So he starts in P6, 5 back, and now all of a sudden finds himself sitting in P3. Because a couple of guys have some bad luck.
And we've just now seen Ken Ladd, who we were just following a few moments ago in the Toyotas. He has now brought his car down the pit lane. And I'm not sure what happened there, but he drove it on in. Maybe running low on fuel here in the waning moments of this 30-minute race.
That would be unfortunate.
All right, let's
he went
take
up
a
on
look.
the jacks too. So is he taking tires?
Yeah, maybe. Let's take a look. We've got a replay here, and I think this is. We'll find out. I assume this is going to be coming down the downhill. We'll see exactly what happened as we had our leader Hartley try to come through, and it was that Provenus.
It might be.
Yeah,
I gotta say, Hartley was obviously getting a bit. It is Provenus, but Hartley probably getting a bit desperate. Wanted to get a really good run down that, put himself in a tough position, and Hartley probably should have been a little bit more patient. I feel bad for Provenus here, who was probably just trying to stay out of the way there.
All right, as we jump over now, this is the battle, I believe.
That's for third in pro.
Third in pro. And we've got Chris Thorman, and we've got newcomer Eugenio Pulici, who did not have a great opening round here. I think made it about a lap and a half before having to retire the car, but in good position here to find himself on a podium as he challenges Chris Thorman now with just a touch over 3 minutes remaining here on the clock.
And Eugene's up 10 spots, so he's having a great second race here. It's funny, 2 of our drivers, Bobby Childs and Eugene, both who had kind of tough first races, are hard chargers. Bobby's up 14 spots and Eugene's up 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember having a bad race, and there he is, making a real push here in this race. A great job for Pulici in the second round. He's not done yet. I think he's thinking he can get this next spot, too.
I mean, if I was up 10 spots, what's one more, right?
Exactly. All right, so in the Toyotas now, as we were watching our Club Sport Pro, it is Tom Rathke now with about a second advantage over Scott Banks, the 41 machine, over the number 7, and then quite a distance now back to Eric Violette, who has lost the scent. He is about 5 seconds now, actually closer to 6 seconds in arrears of our leaders as Rathke and Banks make their way around. And again, we're looking at now 2 minutes remaining on the clock.
Should be 2 more laps. Banks has been cutting into that time. Look at that gap now, 8 tenths. He's been about 2 tenths a lap the last couple times by. I think, and I really do think he's in a position to maybe make a move on the final lap. He's got 1 more lap to get within striking distance. He'll catch a little sniff of draft here. coming down the straight with what I believe is going to be 2 laps to go. And maybe when we see white flag, he might be in a position to challenge Rafki.
Yeah, and the question is, Lair, what's going to happen? Are they going to come up on this traffic just ahead of them before that final lap starts? And they're getting awfully close now.
Well, Captain Chaos says that's what's going to happen, so we're gonna watch. Tom Jenkins, your leader in the M category there in the GR86s, just a second ahead of Brad Husty. So a good battle again also for the lead here in this class, with Husty still taking a couple of tenths out, but he's got a car between them, so a little bit more struggled there. We're up here on the pro side. Rafki to Banks. There's no one between. Banks again has taken a 10th out as we're halfway around this lap. I don't know if he's going to get close enough, but having those two in front of him, and that looks like in front of them there is the... That is real quick. That is the 9 of Eduardo Lorente right in front of him, with one of the Dragotas there the next up.
And looks like Brennan Horn part of that pack as well.
All right, so this should be white flag.
With Larry, with only 30 seconds left on the clock, or a little bit less, I believe we are working the white flag lap here from Lime Rock. With Tom Rafki, your leader in Club Sport Pro, Scott Banks running second. In AM, it's Tom Jenkins and Brad Husty 1-2. In Street Tuner,
Rafki's got some action in front of him.
Oh, here we go. As they go through the uphill.
Robert Brisk trying to get out of the way there. Brennan Horn now on the radios telling Rafki, I'm doing all I can to stay out of your way. One more run for Banks if he can get a bit of draft, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Rafki's
not
going to
be enough, Larry, as they come down the Sam Posey straight, and it closes down at the end. But taking the checkered flag, Tom Rafki, your winner in Club Sport Pro. Scott Banks finishes in second. Eric Violet will cross the line and finish third.
Get up to the pros and the Mazdas.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's move over and take a look here at the if we can pick up that Pro Mazda race. Here it is.
There it is. Yep. Hey, Mike Dam might have a shot here with the
run. Yeah, this could be a wired finish here.
Oh, and getting a lot of curbing there is Palakui Grant at the apex of the downhill as he comes across the line, and I don't think that Mike Dam's going to have enough. And no, Palakui Grant takes the win in Street Tuner Pro. Mike Dam will finish in second. Chris Thorman will come home in third. And if we move over to our AM categories, taking the win in Club Sport AM, it's Tom Jenkins with Brad Husty finishing in second. Leo Dragata will come home in third. And in Street Tuner AM, it is Ray Lombardi taking his second win of the evening. Great run for Ray, finishing second. Eduardo Lorente and Steve Daniel will bring his car home in third.
A little less on the chaos side, but no less exciting theirs. And that second race tonight, I do love the twin race heat format. It's just so exciting. It creates a whole lot of anxiety and stress that is so much more fun to watch.
All right, so gentlemen, let's take a quick break. Going to thank some of our partners and sponsors here tonight, bringing you all the coverage here on Apex Racing TV. And when we come back, we'll talk to some of our podium finishers from Lime Rock, where you've just seen runs 2 and 3 of the Touring Car Cup presented by Performa Elite. We'll be right back.
Extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back to Lime Rock Park, where you've just seen rounds 2 and 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup presented by Performa Elite. And again, if you want to find out more about our sponsor, Performa Elite, visit proformaetg.com. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Larry Lefty McLeod and Chad Dick, and great race in there across 2 races, and we've got some of our podium finishers now in the green room. Tell you what, why don't we bring in and let's bring in Tom Jenkins. He was our Club Sport Am winner here in race number 2.
All right, Tom Jenkins has joined us, and Tom, that was a crazy race to watch from the outside. You managed to take, I think, a couple of podiums here in the AM category, including, I think, a race win there in the second race. Tell me a little bit about how it was from the driver's seat.
It was truly insane. No one was wanting to give any space. The lapped cars were just, I mean, they were pushing strong. You had to fight for everything. The second race, I was running second. We were nose to bumper for lap and lap and lap, and then the wreck in front took the other car out, which allowed me to slide by. And I tell you what, I'm super happy about it. And Midfield Motorsports, we've been doing a lot of practice, and we were ready for this.
Yeah, no, it's been great. This place, I think, definitely rewards a lot of practice, in how to manage through that traffic. You talked about how difficult it was because everyone everywhere was fighting with somebody out here tonight. A little different tonight than maybe a couple weeks ago at a track that also busy, but just seems to flow better. This place, the reputation of Bull Ring really does seem to be true, isn't it?
Oh yeah, constant, nonstop. It was a challenge, but it was so much fun. But I tell you what, it wears you out quick.
Yeah, well, awesome job tonight. You had the second in the first race, I believe. You had the win here in the second race. Great points result for you tonight. It's going to be one of the best that we've got here this week to be able to be up there on the podium twice. Congratulations on that. And you got anybody you want to thank? Any shout out to anybody for the wins here tonight?
Yeah, shout out to my teammate Brad Husty, who I believe you might be pulling up next. He's been beating me last season, and it's been hard this time, but I'm pushing, and he's pushing me, and it's making it better. So I appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot.
Well, congrats, Tom, on the couple of great finishes here, including the win in the second race tonight.
All right, there you go, Tom Jenkins from Midfield Motorsports. Let's do this, actually, Larry. Why don't we bring in Palakui Grant next? I think given the run that he had there at the end, definitely somebody we want to talk to, and always a great interview. Winner in race number 2 in Club Sport Pro.
Oh, Palakui Grant,
Street Tuner Pro.
Yep, a great run here tonight, especially that second race. The first race got chaotic. You may have, it looks like you had lost a couple spots, but you came back strong in that second race. But in the end, you got down, you fought back, and boy, the battle that you and Mike had at the end looked legendary. Have you settled yet? Are your hands still shaking?
I am. The adrenaline is still flowing through me, but at least my hands have calmed down from shaking at the end. That was incredible stuff. I knew Mike was quick. He was gaining me on the first sector a couple of tenths almost every lap. So I knew it was going to be a matter of putting the car where it had to be and working the traffic, trying not to get unlucky. And I think there was that big wreck coming out of the last turn. I believe it was 15 minutes left of the session. I was holding on for dear life. I was just glad I made it through that.
Oh my God, that was chaotic. But the lap that you and Mike had side by side for the entire lap, and we're watching the precision and the dance the two of you are doing, only to have Rob Hartley ducked around between you and take the lead into the next corner. It's disheartening, but it's got to be just thrilling to be a part of that mix with all these guys, and the trust you guys show each other is just amazing.
Oh, always. And the confidence all of us have to actually run side by side through each other. you don't have that opportunity very many times to really test offline with another driver, really going at it. And I mean, Mike, very respectful driver. There's a reason he's a past champion. And I mean, for him, it was in full display today. I might have come on top this time, but he's got some wicked pace to him.
Yeah, he really does. And anytime you can finish ahead of them, it's a huge accomplishment. And tonight you did the second race tonight. You got the win. Well-deserved. Great racing to finish just ahead of Mike there. Great points for you here in these rounds tonight. You got anybody you want to give a shout out to and a thanks to?
Actually, yes. I want to give a big shout out right now to Jordan Johnson. He is currently in real life at this track right now. If none of you are familiar, he raced in the Skip Barber Formula 4 series on iRacing, and he got the hard charger accomplishment. So he's actually driving, I believe, Mustangs right now on this course. So big shout out to him. I also like to thank my team. I know Chris was back there in third. He was having a good run. They showed me a couple of things on the track. I know David had a good run as well. And, you know, Bobby throwing it out there. I mean, he's been dealing with a bunch of paints lately. So I really appreciate the team and the guys over at XMS. And again, I'd like to thank my grandparents, Papa and Tutu. I love you. My guys, Sakurai, my brothers, Wes, and of course, you guys in the broadcast booth, always giving that A+, and I can't wait to see it after this. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, it's a fun one to watch. You were a huge part of it, and you got to take home victory here in the second race tonight. Palikui Grant, victorious tonight in the Mazdas. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Mahalo, and hui ho, take care.
There you go, everybody. D2D Racing's Palikui Grant. Like I said, always a great interview, Larry.
Yeah.
Let's bring in now Ray Lombardi. Ray was our Street Tuner AM winner, and let's talk to him now.
All right, Ray Lombardi joining us. Ray, you came home victorious there in that second race in the AM category, but boy, you had to earn that victory. Crazy place tonight. Tell me a little bit about your side of it.
Yeah, I was just telling the other guys, I'm sweating all over. Peyton in my neck for 30 minutes, so it was really hard work. I screwed up a couple of times, but not enough to actually let him by. He came side by side a couple of times, but I'm glad I pulled it off because it was hard work. It was hard work.
Oh, it's absolutely hard work around this place to hold them off because you start running side by side, it gets crazy, and you got some good competition there. You're fending off. You know, Peyton, who's in the pro category, he's one of the good ones up here. You finished a couple spots ahead of Eduardo Lorente in there, but to stay in the mix in this field, it's tough. You know, to all that side by side. Have you had a chance to do a lot of practice with these guys to get a feel for tendencies or what it's like to run with them, or are you just kind of hanging on for dear life out there?
Mostly the latter. I had a couple of practice hours with the guys by now, but yeah, it's a matter of recognizing patterns a little bit. I figured out Peyton quite quickly. He was just trying to force it in turn one, and I just stayed on the inside there and tried to keep my own for the rest of the lap. And that seemed to work out fine. The rest of the guys, I didn't actually see much. You know, the first race I was alone for a long time, and second race was only Peyton, so it didn't have to know much about the guys, luckily. But next week that might be quite different.
It could be, but you get to really enjoy this one. I think you've got wins in both the first and second rounds here tonight in the AM category. Yeah. Awesome stuff. That you might have been, I think, the only one that was able to sweep your class in both races. So congrats on that. That's not an easy feat around here. Anybody you want to give a thanks to for helping you get here?
Yeah, thanks to my teammates for keeping me alive, and you guys for the broadcast, and the Spec 5 guys for joining. You got Eugenio Polici from another league. People are joining a little bit of crossbreeding, so you might say. So it's fun to have some known faces here and there.
Yeah, awesome stuff. It's a great little family here, and everybody's having a good old time. But to get 2 wins in one night is not easy. So congrats for that, Ray Lombardi, your winner in the Miatas in the AM category.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Ray Lombardi from Team Esport Racer. Larry, let's bring in, we talked to, obviously we talked to his teammate just a few moments ago, Tom Jenkins. Let's bring in Brad Husty from Midfield Motorsports, finished second tonight in round number 3.
All right, Brad Husty has joined us. And Brad, we talked a few minutes ago with your teammate Tom, and you guys had a pretty solid race there in the second round. They're kind of finishing almost nose to tail. Tell me a bit about what you guys got going on and the success of this podium tonight.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Tom. He's been practicing real hard. I've been practicing real hard, and he was real fast tonight, man. And I'll tell you what, just trying to avoid contact, avoid the wrecks, stay out of trouble. That was the key tonight.
There was a lot of that going on. Is it just become every time you turn around a corner, you just wonder what's waiting for you?
Oh yeah, you can see smoke up ahead. You're just praying that it's not scattered all across the track when you come up to it.
Yeah, because there was so much just going on. I mean, at that point, are you able to kind of, when you come up on somebody, how long do you have to decide? Is this a battle? Is it not a battle? Where am I going to make a move? Or do you just have to rely on instincts when you come up on someone?
Yeah, a little bit of instincts and just cooperating. Everybody seemed to cooperate once everybody got settled in. You'd figure out who's faster where, and then they'd let you through or whatever. It was some good racing out there.
Yeah, absolutely was. It was just awesome to watch. And between you and your teammate having such a strong finish here tonight, it's got to feel pretty good there for the Midfield Motorsports team.
Oh yeah, Midfield Motorsports 1 and 2. Tom, yeah, he did great. I want to give a shout out to Nikki Fly too.
Well, awesome stuff here tonight. Congrats, Brad, on a great finish and a team finish for you guys. And we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right, there you go, Brad Husty from Midfield Motorsports. Larry kind of starting to wind things down here. Let's bring in Eric Violette from Team D2D eRacing.
All right, Eric's Violet has joined us here tonight, and Eric, boy, some crazy races here tonight. Just an unbelievably wild night. We've talked to a lot of folks that have talked about how wild it was. You managed to survive for a couple of podiums and even got the win in the first race tonight. How crazy was this, and how much fun was this?
The first heat was nuts. The second one was actually kind of boring for me. I mean, I'm sweating up a storm still. It's probably leftovers from the first one. So I'm not really supposed to be here. I'm here on behalf of Tom. He couldn't get into the lobby here, so I just wanted to say on his behalf, thanks for the sponsors, Ricmotech, Apex Racing TV, and Pro Forma Elite. He didn't say this, but he'd probably say, Eric's lucky I didn't spin him when he chopped my nose off. I don't know if you guys caught that, but at the top of the hill I had a run and I thought I was clear, and I apparently was not.
Well, I'm sure Tom would have said the same. I'm totally
yeah.
Sure.
And I think and the traffic back and forth with Tom and Scott, with the traffic in the first one was pretty crazy, and it's very interesting. Hopefully it was a good broadcast.
Absolutely was a great broadcast. With all the races, all 8 classes or whatever we have here in this, it was great battles top to bottom. And you three, between yourself and Scott and Tom, really put on a great show with you and Tom getting the wins. Scott sandwiched between you and both. It was a lot of fun to watch. This is continuing to be, I think, one of our best seasons. You're right there in it. It's not going to be easy every week, but you got to win at another podium here tonight. So congrats, Eric.
They're fast, but it was very nice, respectful racing. So, I mean, it was hard racing, a little bit of contact, but nothing egregious, very respectful. So I'll get out of your hair. I know it's been a long night for you guys, so I'll just say, hi, Mom, happy belated Mother's Day, and thanks to my wife, Laura. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric.
All right, there you go. Eric Violette from D2D eRacing, our winner in round 1 tonight, or probably round number 2, first race of the evening. All right, so Chad, Larry, let's start to wrap things up here, and we'll give everybody a little hint of what's to come across our 3 different Ricmotech series. So next week, next Monday night,
Ricmotech, high performance sim.
For a 75-minute run to the checkered flag, and that should be a wonderful race. Always great racing at Mosport.
Be entertaining.
Very, very quick. And Larry and I were talking last week. We expect everybody to be off at the Moss hairpin on lap 1. It'll be spectacular. We didn't say that. Really.
If they make it past turn 2, right? You're
That
assuming they make it that far down the hill.
Exactly, exactly. They gotta at least get past the first quarter of the track before they get to the back half. All right, and we're gonna take a week off for Memorial Day, but then we will come back June 5th, Monday night, June 5th. The Touring Car Cup. It's going to be round number 4, 60 minutes from the home of Eugenio Polici, pardon me, driver of the ST Pro number 27 machine. We're going to be at Monza. So the Mazda MX-5s, the Toyota GR86s, they'll be able to stretch their legs a little bit, maybe a little bit more than they could here tonight at Lime Rock Park. And if you're wanting to see GT4 action and TCR action, join us in August when the Sports Cars Series returns August 23rd for a 60-minute race. Don't have information on where that will be, what the venue will be, but mark it down on your calendars, August 23rd. All right, so for Larry Lefty McLeod, for Chad Dick, for John Robertson, spinning all the little dials and controls in the control room there, I'm Greg Ginsburg. We'll see you next Monday night from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Have a great week, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.